But I think we are we've never made a full statement on global warming, so we've tried to avoid anything we don't think we can really make a good attempt. But the thing that makes this so we don't have a real mea culpa on this is the fact that when we're not sure, the language is very careful. And the one that's usually pointed out is the secondhand smoke. We did a show about secondhand smoke, and everybody says there's now studies that show that secondhand smoke is dangerous, and therefore we're completely wrong. But we were worried about that. So all we talked about was whether it was people's right to endanger themselves, whether you could have a place that had smoke and other people could come in and experience first-hand or second-hand smoke without government intrusion. So although our spin on that, I think there is enough evidence now that second-hand smoke can cause danger, at least in children with perhaps emphysema in a closed house. There's all sorts of qualifications on that, but there is some evidence of that. We never actually said that all of the secondhand smoke stuff was bullshit. We said the regulation about it was bullshit. So there's a lot of weasel stuff that we did that allowed us to not have to be wrong. I mean, for instance, the hypnotism show, we started out to do a show that was going to be just hypnotism is bullshit, and as we did research on it, by the time the show got to air, we really kind of, the whole point of that show is, we don't know. Maybe you were hypnotized. You think what?
No, but we just, when in doubt, we just always come down to the sign of liberty. And that's a position that is unassailable.
I think there's a couple other shows. Are there any shows that like the Great White Whale for you, ones that you want to do that you can't get your hands on, you can't figure out how the approach to it, whether you're not doing it for any other reason?
We've long wanted to do a show about tribalism, where, you know, the idea that somebody should have as a point of pride the group that they were supposedly born as part of, it seems to us very anti-American. It seems as though the point of being an American is that you are not attached to, to queen and country from the past. You are your own individual. And we wanted to do a show about that for quite a while. It's a little hard to persuade Showtime that that's the right kind of topic for us. Well, the problem with that topic is that once you say that people shouldn't have white pride, you almost have to say that there shouldn't be any other kind of pride. And we do not believe in any pride in any ancestry whatsoever. If there's not a group that you chose to belong to, and I mean this is a wonderful example of a group that everybody here chose to belong to, you don't get born into, and those are the groups to me that are beautiful and wonderful, but the groups that you claim pride in who your great-great-grandfather was seem like complete bullshit. We haven't been able to sell Showtime on that. We also, I mean, not that they differently, it's a hard show to do. We haven't done TSA yet because there are legal implications. You can't shoot video there legally, but we may, if we do season 9, we really very much want to try to do TSA because that's just, I mean, that's a big, stinking, fucking pile of bullshit. It's bullshit on so many levels because you want to do the bullshit and it doesn't work, and doesn't protect anybody, and doesn't do safety. And I don't even want to touch that at all. I only want to go with the bullshit that it is morally wrong. We choose liberty over safety. That's the idea of this country. Scientology also. Showtime didn't want us to, is one reason. But the other reason is we like to do stuff that at least somebody watching might learn something from. And I've never met anybody one-on-one that thinks anything besides Scientology is bullshit. Okay, so I say it backwards. What Scientology? Oh, okay. Well,
he said is what I mean.
And we also wanted to do one on vitamin supplements, but we haven't found a way to make it visual enough for television.
You're pretty brutal to some of the people on Bullshit. Ever run into them in real life?
Yeah.
That must have been something.
It was really something. I got on the airplane, and sitting next to me was a gentleman, and we were sitting there side by side for the whole flight. Then as we started to land, he said to me, "Are you doing another season of Bullshit?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I looked at him and went, oh. And he said, "Yeah, Frank Lutz, you did fuck you, Frank, the whole show." And he was the pollster that we had said we were doing an interview with him on the street. By we, I mean, you know, we don't do the interview ourselves. So it was the Bullshit staff was doing an interview with him on the street and not set up or anything. A guy drove by and just went, "Fuck you, Frank!" We thought it was just so tremendously funny that we kept repeating it the whole show as a way to remind people that polls can be skewed. It was the show we did on numbers and polling. And we wanted to point out that that polls can be skewed. We said, every time you see a poll anywhere, just say automatically to yourself, "Fuck you, Frank." So the gentleman next to me in the seat said, "This is so awful." He said that every time he speaks anywhere, like 5 people yell out, "Fuck you, Frank." The punchline of this story is pretty remarkable. We walked through the terminal, and I didn't back down on anything that I'd said on the show because I didn't disagree with him, and he didn't say anything. But it turns out we agreed on huge amounts of things politically, and he came to our show, and we hung out, and we talked to him afterwards, and now I correspond with an email. He's a wonderful guy. And I still say that the certain polls that he did were bullshit, and he's also told me in what ways they are and how he spins them and stuff like that. And I don't think I regret anything. I don't regret doing the show. I don't regret saying, "Fuck you, Frank." And I don't regret being nice to him on the airplane. Just the wonderful thing about the marketplace of ideas. You just spin ideas around like that. So Frank is A-okay, and if anybody's, anybody knows Frank, and you see him, yell out, instead of yelling, "Fuck you, Frank," yell, "Penn says you're A-okay."
One last question we're looking at for the audience. You guys have worked together for how many years now? 35?
35, yes, forever.
And one of the things I think keeps you together is you have a very healthy sense of your own individuality. You both work on really interesting solo projects. And what I was wondering is if each of you could recommend one of the other guys' solo projects to this crowd.
It's hard to recommend one because I would recommend them all. I mean, Teller's working on a show that's going to go off Broadway called Play Dead with Todd Robbins. That's a wonderful look at seances and talking to dead and stuff like that. The book Someday All This Will Be Yours that Teller wrote about his father and his mother is a wonderful book. If you want to know anything about David P. Abbott, a really important magic inventor of the early 20th century. There are 2 big volumes, huge, that Teller wrote that are wonderful. And I mean, I can't think of anything he's done that isn't great. So if it says Teller on it, buy it. If it says Penn in front of it, buy it still.
I'm a huge fan of really everything that Penn has done. Penn did a radio show that was the best radio show ever. Right?
Eddie said really, because Eddie's also done a radio show with Bob Dylan. That's why he said.
No, yours was the best.
Okay.
Yours was the best. He's got a book on atheism coming out next year called.
I have to remember the name of it. It's called God No. Signs You May Already Be an Atheist and Other Magical Tales by Ben Gillette.
It's kind of like You Might Be a Redneck If.
Yeah, exactly.
Penn's got a sort of verbal blog thing called Penn Says, right?
It's actually, Penn Says it's not called Penn Point.
Penn Point.
There's also You and Me, which supplied the bags to you all.
Yeah.